So, welcome everybody to our Monday night Team Patchination training call. And I am absolutely delighted tonight to have not only a dear friend of mine and a number of us here, but a very incredible woman be our trainer tonight. So, Darlene Reimer Frost has been originally with Vox and transitioned into the Super Patch Company, but she's been approximately 6.5 years now. She has been maybe a little bit longer than 6.5 years, and she's been an RMT for over 30 years, as well as a nationally recognized photographic artist. And she's done a couple really nice things for me, which are just so incredible. I'm so appreciative. She was part of the first group of practitioners that actually joined Vox over 6 years ago. And she is just an incredible trainer. She's got so much knowledge, and I had the very good pleasure of just spending the last week with Darlene and her husband doing some team building and training up at our lodge here in Quebec. So without further ado, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Darlene Reimer, our trainer for tonight. Take it away, Darlene.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I was on my browser version of Zoom because sometimes my internet can kick out. So I didn't want to go through the app and then all of a sudden I can't hear anything. And it's like, oh no, so now I have to relaunch. So thank you for your patience on that one. Yes, so I've been I started out with Vox Life, and I was introduced to it through massage therapy. And the thing that got me was that it basically mimicked a lot of the things that we do as massage therapists. So there's a lot of things that we strive for in our treatments as far as getting the body into a homeostatic state and so on, that will allow the body to heal faster, that will allow the body to function better. All those things that the flyer that I was given that said that at that time, the socks and insoles did was what we strove to do as far as practitioners go, as far as massage therapists go. So it made a lot of sense to me, is that if you can do that through socks and insoles, that's pretty cool. So that's how I was introduced to it. I wasn't introduced to it by somebody who wanted me to join the business. I wasn't introduced to it by somebody who was trying to sell me something. So that gives me a little bit different perspective, and I hope that just lays a little bit of the groundwork for you as far as where I'm coming from in this, because to come at it as far as as a presenter, I didn't have that. I actually Vox found me. I didn't find it. So it was a very interesting scenario at the time. And then when Terry asked about this training, it's very similar to one, I'm thinking it was 3 years ago, Terry, that I spoke on this. I'm thinking 3 years ago. It's quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was at least 3 years ago. At least 3 years ago, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could have even been 4. This is where age creeps up on you a little bit. So if any of you are interested, and this is going to be a little bit shorter version of that, and a few different pieces along with that. But if any of you are interested in that, go into Terry's YouTube account and search some of the videos, and you will find one on practitioners, and that will also shed light on some of this. So this has come about because the Super Patch Company has now implemented where the practitioners can join for free, which is absolutely fabulous. That does not mean that all of the practitioners that you introduce this to are going to jump at it just because it's free. And so that's kind of where this talk is going to come in and shed some light on that. This is going to be from my perspective as a practitioner, but also as an associate. So when I joined, there was no practitioner program. It was only associate program. So that was where you pay your fee, you join in, and then you order your products at a discount, and then you can build a team. And I really can't remember when they brought it in, Terry, but they brought it in after that, where they were allowed to have the practitioners come in. And there are definite bonuses to joining as a practitioner. But as such, there were also some roadblocks. And that was one of the things that I'll address. There's a lot of practitioners that through their licensing bodies are not allowed to be in a building scenario or in MLM, so to speak. So they're not allowed to be a part of that. If there is something that will actually get them to create a team, they're not allowed to do that. So that is one thing that you're going to need to know ahead of time. If you are going to address practitioners, know who you're going to talk to and what their limitations are, because you don't want to go and do your whole big spiel, you know, that they're actually listening to, and then have them say, well, you know what, thanks for all of that. Thanks for an hour of your time, but I can't do it anyway because it's not within our licensing agreement with our regulating body. So that becomes an issue. So that's something that you might want to know about. So I titled this Practitioners, Mission Impossible or Challenge Accepted. So I'm going to look at it from the two different perspectives. One is why you may choose not to, and what kind of challenges may come up if you do choose to do that. And then if challenge accepted will be the opposite side of that, is like, okay, how are you going to do this if you're going to choose to do it? So mission impossible. So if you have already talked to a practitioner and been hit with a roadblock, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we are a completely different breed of people. We think differently, we analyze differently, we can read differently, you know, body language and people and how they come across. So intention is huge. I get into that on the other video that I had done. But practitioners are just very different in the way we look at things and deal with things. So that's something that you need to know. We're a bit of a hard sell. So if you're going to be talking to a practitioner, whether it be a chiropractor, physiotherapist, well, there's a whole list. There's like, I don't know, what, 30 people, 30 different professions, and I'm sure we're going to be adding more all the time. They tend to be a bit of a hard sell. And part of it is that they've worked very, very hard to get where they are. And a lot of these professions have a lot of competition. And there's a very strong, I wouldn't call it defensive posture, but there's definitely a wall up when you come at them with something that they don't know about. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. I want to get into a little bit of the psychology of resistance, because that will also help you understand why some of these people might be, you know, giving you the hold on, I don't want to talk to you vibe when you get in there. And then there's other ones that are really, really open to this. And that's where I'll get into the challenge accepted part. I'll give you an example. I actually have a physiotherapist signed under me. He owns 6 clinics. So I did a wellness show, and couple of his people were there and was talking to them about it, did the balance test and everything. And they're like, oh, you have to talk to our boss. Like, he is so into this stuff. And so I'm like, oh, cool. So I go and talk to him, and he's like 100% in. He's like all in. He's all excited. He wants to do this. This is the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, this guy travels the world and goes all over and does all this kind of stuff. Great. Signs up, buys like $500 worth of stuff for his family. I'm gonna pause right there. And then I says, okay, great. When can I do a training for your whole system, like all your people and all that kind of stuff? And he says, no problem. Talk to the secretary. First wall right there. Secretary didn't really want to give me the time of day. Don't really have time for this. I don't know who's going to be interested, but the owner was the guy who ran it all. And like, he was a head honcho. He's got, I don't know how many letters after his name. He says, no, we're going to do this. You're going to do it like a lunch and learn type thing. And so I went in there, and they were all pretty impressed. And that's it. And I'm like, but you know what it does, you know how it can help people. So then I talked to the owner, and I said, so what do you want me to do with this? And he says, talk to the secretary. She'll send out messages to the people. So I sent her one of our studies, and she says, okay, well, I'll forward it on. And if anyone's interested, they'll contact you. And it's like, oh boy, here we go again. So there's a wall there, you know, and this is until you start to see some of the walls start to come down. I'm not giving up on them. I mean, I feel sorry for them, because I'm really not going to give up on them. I'm going to still go there, because there's still a lot of people that can be helped, especially now that it's in the patches. but there's definitely a wall there, but it wasn't from the guy who ran the show. It was from all the underlings, like all the other physiotherapists, physiotherapy assistants, and some of the trainers that were there, that their walls were up. And again, I'm going to go into that a little bit when I talk about resistance, but these are some of the things that you run across. There's also other things that may restrict what they want to do, and that is that practitioners are very busy. Not only have they spent a lot of time training, they have to do a lot of continuing education. So they're just plain busy. So to implement something else in that they have to learn and adopt into their way of working can also be a bit challenging for them. So, and again, I'm taking all the negatives at the beginning, so don't lose me in the beginning part, because I'm going to get to the part where the ones that do want to jump on board, there's lots we can do with them. So hang tight if you're feeling like, oh, this is all negative. It's not. I'm just being very open and very clear about some of the roadblocks that you may face, so that you know about them, so that you don't give up. If this is what you've been called to do, is to reach the practitioners, I want to give you the tools to be able to do that. But yeah, they're just plain busy. So they're usually running the show. They usually have a staff. There's just a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, it's not the moon. The moon's not.
Somebody's got an iPhone on. There we go.
Well,
I think it's off.
The moon can be this big and no. Let me see.
So whoever's got the iPhone, I'm not sure if I can mute them.
You're looking at a flashlight. You're looking at a mirror.
Otherwise, I'd like to look at the stars too. I'll just keep going and hope for the best. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I was talking about restrictions. So they're busy. They have time restrictions. They may be too busy to learn something like this. That I'm not going to tell you not to let that stop you, but that may be something that you need to consider with them. And I'm going to be pretty frank with you. Some of them are just plain lazy. They don't want to do something else. They've already got insoles for, if they're a chiropractor, they've already got their orthotics. For some of the physiotherapies, they've got their systems, their K-tape, their everything, all these gel packs and biofreeze and all that kind of stuff. They don't really want to have to learn something else. Whether it's called lazy or whether it's just time management on their end and just kind of reserving their energy. But that can also be a part of why they would choose not to want to talk to somebody about the super patches. And there's also stalking issues. There's getting the secretaries on board, getting the person, there's just a lot of wheels that have to go. It's not just somebody that joins the business and needs to order, $500 or $1,000 worth of stock and put it in a suitcase in their trunk and off they go to a show. Like, this is an ongoing thing. And, especially way back when we did have socks, oh, you don't have the one in my color. So now they got to order something separate. And it's just, there can be hassles. The patches have they've gone in a positive direction that way, where you don't have to worry about that kind of preference. But there's still more wheels to the cog than they may be willing to address in their practice right at that time. Because some of them, to be fair, they just don't want to be bothered. Now, I'm going to go back into the resistance later. But as far as the logistics go, that's where it gets into the stocking, but also the comparative products. Like, if they already have a product that's going to be somewhat similar, even though ours is completely different, they may already have it in their head. So preconceived ideas is another one. And this is where you'll also find resistance from some of the practitioners that have gotten involved in multi-level organizations or products that have some sort of a private membership system, where it's just like, this is too much work. So their experience is going to be labeling how much the resistance they give you. Again, don't let that discourage you too much, but allow that respect to flow and allow them to have that time. Again, when I talk to people, so I think Barb is on the call today. I think I saw her name. See, this is a nice thing, Terry. I always go on when I'm on Facebook and then I can't scroll and see who's all there. So this is
Barb,
nice, actually.
Barb is here. Good to have you here, Barb.
Barb is here. So Barb and I got in touch with her through an associate of mine, and she says, you got to go talk to Barb. Okay, go talk to Barb. And we talked for quite a few times, and she was hopeful and skeptic at the same time. But again, there's also that credibility thing that comes in line. It's like, if I'm gonna do this, my reputation is on the line, and we really need to respect that, because again, some of these practitioners have been burned in the past with either products that work some of the time, or that they didn't understand it, or that they got roped into some sort of a renewal system where they had to keep ordering stuff. But there's also that, their credibility is definitely something that they are considering when they listen to you. So Barbin is one in particular that understood, I believe right from the start, that this was a really good potential of what it could do, but needed to feel it herself. And so she gave it the time. And thankfully, I stuck around, because, patience can be an issue sometimes for people. If you're willing to put the time in, it may take a little bit longer to be able to give them the time to experiment, either with themselves, their family, or other members of their clientele. Allow them that time to process it and be able to kind of discern what they want to do with it. That will allow them to be much more brought in when they do decide to come in, and then their belief system is that much stronger. So those are some of the reasons why you may have some resistance, or some people hesitant to come in as practitioners. And again, if you go back to that video that I had done before, it references another video. So this, we're going back and back and back into other videos, but about going and talking to practitioners and being professional and having integrity, and basically just what the motivation is to do your different things. And that will also address some of these issues as well. So again, go back into Terry's YouTube and find that one. That will address some of those as well. So those are some of those that make it mission impossible to get at practitioners. A, they're too busy. B, they don't really have time to learn, or they're just there's too much going on in their practice already. They already have what they think are comparable products. Again, it's patience, it's being clear. And then in the challenge, we're going to get into the challenge accepted part. And that's where I want you to really understand the concept of being clear and precise. This is not about, being all flowery and adding a bunch of, lots of words. The more clear and precise you can be with them factually, removing all your emotions from it, because they do not deal with emotions at this point. If it's dealing with family members, they will, but if it's dealing with their practice, they want nothing to do with emotion. They want to deal with facts. So these are some of the things that you'll need to know getting in there. So let's get into the challenge accepted part. Now, Mission Impossible, was that kind of half decently clear? Thumbs up? Good to go? Okay, moving forward. Challenge accepted. So you have accepted your mission to go and talk to practitioners. So how are you going to connect with them? This is what you want to decide. You need to decide how you are going to connect with them, and that will also determine how you want to get in there. So Elsa and Jen and Kevin Duguay, I believe, were at a massage therapy conference this weekend, and apparently phenomenal results. So good on you guys. That's excellent. But one of the biggest thing with shows with practitioners, if you're going to go to one of their shows, they're already in a mindset to learn. So that is a powerful place to be. If you go and show up at your chiropractor's office when they're busy and their schedule is full, and you might be catching them on the coffee break, if anything, they don't really want to talk to you. But if they're at a show, they're already in that mindset to learn. They're more apt to sit down and say, this looks interesting. I have a minute. Let's chat. So that's one thing to consider, is how you're going to connect with them, whether it be at a vendor show, whether you want to go in. I have gone into a few places, mostly in my local area, because then they would know me. And I would say, I have something I'd like to talk to Dr. Dwayne about. Is there a time that's best for him that I could connect with him? Something, is he free? Because no, they're not free. They're never free. So go in and make an appointment and say, well, what's this about? It says, this is a new product that I feel may complement his business. Something that you don't want to come across as something is like, well, he's never heard of this, and this is really, really cool, and he's really going to help his practice, because that's challenging what he believes about himself and what others believe. So this is getting into the resistance part. If you challenge what they know to be true, they will resist you. So if you want to write that one down, if you challenge what they know to be true, they will resist you. So don't come into them and say, I have something you've never heard of before. Not generally a good way to approach it. Make an appointment, just say, well, it's a little bit too complicated to look at, but there is a product line that he may be interested in implementing into his practice. Something that's a little bit more specific and vague at the same time, if that makes sense, without saying exactly what it is. You can create that interest, but also respecting the fact that, you know, if he doesn't want to, that's okay. So that's where you're connecting, either by appointment or at a vendor show where you're addressing them as a professional. There's also a way that you can connect to them at a personal level. And those who have been in this business for a while will know the whole Dr. DeBrinket story, where he had a client who's a chiropractor and had a client bring him a pair of socks and says, I want you to give these a try. And he put them in his drawer, and there they sat forever and ever and ever until, you know, until she became such a nag that, have you tried them yet? Have you tried them yet? Have you tried them yet? Then he finally did. And then it's like, oh my word, like, what is this stuff? So if you're connecting on a personal level, that is a completely different story. Hey, you know, for myself, I got into this because my dad was having balance issues. So then I can say to them, your personal story still will apply to practitioners. I will say that. Your personal story is still powerful no matter who you talk to. That's where I could go and say, hey, you know what? My dad has benefited from these. Do you want to give them a try? Meeting them on a personal level generally will get you a lot further than meeting them on a professional level if you know them. Like if it's just a cold call type thing, that's not going to work. But definitely meeting them on a personal level or for a family member is definitely an avenue that you can get in, because once they feel for themselves or their family member how this is going to affect them and benefit them, then the wheels will start to turn, and then they can choose whether they want to implement it into their practice or not. So again, whether you're meeting them on a learning curve, like a vendor show, or on a personal level, knowing how you're going to meet these people is definitely going to change how you address bringing them the information, if that makes sense to you. Also, when you accept this challenge, know what you're offering. And this is where it does make a lot of sense to go and, if you can afford the time, to research who you're addressing. So there are different people that will be in it for money. There will be different people that will be in it for different demographics of people. Different physiotherapists will deal with maybe senior centers more, or sports or things like that. So if you know a little bit more about their practice, you'll be able to gear your information and your speech to them specifically. And that's going to be much more powerful. I'm not going to go into an athletic wellness center and offer them balance and stability for old people. It's just not going to be of interest to them. Neither am I going to go into a chronic pain facility, a pain management center, and offer them a victory patch off the bat, because it's not going to address the concern that they're dealing with. Liberty, yes. Victory, no. Just because of that change in how it's being marketed will change their perspective on it. So again, knowing who you're addressing, what their demographic is, and you know, big time, know your product. That's also a big thing. And that will also help for knowing what you're offering to them, whether you're offering them another stream of income for their clinic, or whether you're offering them family help, or whether you're offering them something that will amplify what they already do. And again, you know, I mentioned it in the other call, addressing what their needs may be. As a practitioner, how do you feel at the end of the day? Allow them to respond. I feel super tired. I might be able to help you with that. Do you want to try a sample? And be able to offer that to them. And that way you're addressing something rather than saying, I have something you need, without you even knowing what they need. Sometimes that little bit of interaction will give them that space to respond, and then you know where you're going to go with this. And it may open up a door that you weren't even going to go through before. just by asking a few simple questions. Again, talking slow and precise, and also to understand their limitations. Now, the practitioner program, I'll give you a little bit of, I'm sure a lot of you know this already, but the difference between the associate account and the practitioner account. So I have both. I was blessed to be able to have both. If you want to build a team, you must be an associate. Practitioners cannot build a team. And the reason they cannot build a team is because that whole legality system of licensing, a lot of the licensing and the regulating bodies will not allow you to build a team, because then you're benefiting financially off your clients, even though you're selling them a pair of orthotics and you're benefiting financially off of them. It's different. They don't allow you to build a team as a practitioner. So you'll find this with naturopaths, you'll find this with nurses, you'll find this with I believe chiropractors are the same. And I'm almost thinking massage therapy is the same too. I never had to deal with that because I had both accounts. So I have to, simply because it works for me. This is how I've chosen to do it. What you'll find too is if you have a practitioner that comes on and they see the benefits and they have a bit of a discount, a greater discount than the rest of the associates do, because of their schooling and the respect for that, then they may say, you know what, I think I could do this. I think I want to do this in my spare time. And then they may get an associate account on the side. But that is completely their choice, and it's completely up to them. And it's completely dependent on what their circumstances are. So that just gives you a little bit more information on the two, and whether the two can work side by side. Yes, they can. But again, you may find a resistance as far as what their legal limitations are according to their licensing bodies. And the other thing is that you want to do, if you are going to accept this challenge, you must learn a few things. You're either going to need to know where to look for information, or you're going to need to know the information yourself. Now, to be fair, my last 8 months of my life have been a complete mess. So I have not gone back into my back office or even onto the website to see where all the new studies are. And some of the new studies are phenomenal. Like they're really put out quite well. Once you know where they are, you can print them off and you can take them into a practitioner and say, hey, you know what, you're working in a pain clinic. Would you like to see our study on pain? And then you can hand them a copy. Now, again, they may have more questions. It may give them more questions than answers, but at least it's another way to get in and another door to be opened as far as avenues of communication with them. So knowing where to find those studies, that's on you. You need to go look it up and you need to find that. I can find them all on the Super Patch website. They're all in, oh goodness, I can't remember which tab it's on. It is on, I think it's on How It Works in that one. Now I lost my Zoom. There we are. So if you go into that, you'll be able to find it. There's like 6 or 7 different ones that will have the full study printed off. You can print them off and start keep them in your binder and just, keep them with you. And that way too, when you're at a vendor show and you have a practitioner come, you can say, hey, they say, well, how do I know that this works? Because that's a big thing. How do I know it works? Or how does it do that? Well, we kids, it's like the laundry soap. It's like ancient Chinese secret. We can't tell you how it works, but here's a study to show you that it works. So these are the types of things that you can answer. And there is no shame, absolutely no shame in looking them in the eye and saying, you know what? I have no clue. Can I get your email? I'll get back to you. Awesome way to do it, because you're respecting their knowledge. You're not saying you know more than them, but you're also saying there is a place to go to find this information that they will then be able to say, okay, so I don't have to learn all this stuff. As long as I know there's a place to go to look for it, then that frees me up a little bit. So that's also a great door open for that. So yeah, so know your studies, know where to find them. They also, again, when I talked about leaving the emotion out of it, so this is where you're getting into subjective versus objective. So when they deal as a practitioner, they're dealing with objective, they're dealing with facts. They're not dealing with subject, which is basically It's dependent on the person. So if I say I had no benefit for 4 months of wearing the tech, that's a subjective thing. I wear it because of the object. To feel it. I know what's worth the difference between the two. And that's where I can with confidence say, you know what, I didn't feel anything right at the start either. And then I can basically go and say, it's the studies are there, the proof is there, the subjective part can be a little bit different for each person, if that makes sense. So that gives you a little bit of my challenge accepted rules and the Mission Impossible rules. I do want to get into, I think I'm going to have to do resistance as another training, Terry. We'll have to do that at another time. But what I do want to address is the pros and cons. So a lot of people think that if they can sign up a practitioner, this is almost like a money cow. Like, this is great. They're going to sell it to all their clients. It's going to be they're going to order lots of stuff. 9 times out of 10, no, it's not going to be that way at all. They do have to basically have a lot of, they really need to own it if they're going to be getting all of their clientele in it. And it's going to be something that they add onto their practice as opposed to the be all and end all in their practice. So generally speaking, a lot of practitioners will join it for their friends and family and be able to offer it to them. There are a few that will use it in the clinic, but it's not a guaranteed cash cow. I mean, go back to my guy that runs 6 clinics. They still have yet to make an office order. He makes orders for himself all the time, but they have yet to make an office order. So I'm going to be on that now. I've got a few more things under my belt that I can take to him, but so that can be a con. It can be a pro and a con. You know, yes, they could potentially order a lot from you, but chances are they're not. So it's not really that big financial boost that people are looking for, is having a lot of practitioners on their site, on their team. It's beneficial, and the pro in that is that it gives you more credibility. There's a lot more belief in it to say, you know what, I have 7 practitioners on my team. They love the product. And that's a great thing to have, because that says that somebody who's knowledgeable, who does their research, who is very conscious of what is going on in the body, believes this to be true. So the credibility is definitely a pro. But again, the con is because they're getting their product at a bit of a discount, more so than the regular associate, your profits are going to be a little bit less too. So you may average out to be the same as just having an associate that doesn't have a team. So there again, you're going to need a lot more practitioners on your team before you'll actually equal somebody who's building a team, if that makes sense. So reserve your energy and make your choices that way. You get to choose, and they get to choose. You get to choose whether you want to pursue a practitioner, and just for the sake of having a reference. But if you want to really go into it for the practitioners, know that it is a frontline. I don't want to call it dead end. It's not a dead end, but they can't build. They're not allowed to build. So there's definitely a roadblock there for longevity of how you're building your system, as far as of building a business. And you may want to address it differently with them than as far as how you want to seek out that relationship with them or a family member of them. So those are some of the pros and cons. Yeah. The other thing is they may not share it as much, because if it does offer something that they're not going to tell everybody to go get this stuff if they know that they can get it from somebody else. So they may offer it to you and not call it super patch as a patient, because they know your neighbor sells it. So then they may not tell you that. So there's always those little logistical things that go on with some of the professionals, but it is always good to present this information to people that can use it more fully, but there are challenges. And so that's basically what this call was about, as far as knowing whether you want to do it or not, whether it's going to be a mission impossible or whether you're going to accept the challenge. I think it's worth it. It's worth it to go talk to people. If for nothing else, then if they start to ask questions back to you, you have somewhere to go to learn more as well, so that the next time it comes up, you can also learn more for yourself and be able to bring that information to other people as well. If that makes sense. So, Terry, did I miss something?
Darlene, awesome tips. What I think that really sticks out to me is the part about be professional, because so many times we go in and we're excited about it, and what they're excited about is their practice. They're not excited as we are. So I think that what's really important is that we go through the proper channels, whether it's through secretaries or front desk or whatever, and be very professional about it. So I think that was key. Maybe we could take a few minutes if people would like, and if you have a question for Darlene, just raise your hand and the little icon, and we could have a few people that might have either approached practitioners before and been stonewalled or whatever, and maybe she can help. Paul.
Hey.
Oh, I see Paul has a whole list of people there, so that's great. Thanks, Paul.
I'll jump right in there, and been there, done that. But if you just look in the chat, everybody, I have the most updated who's approved list of all practitioners. So if somebody's like a doctor of something, you have to remember, like, there are generalized categories that they probably would fit into. You may just have to double check or whatever, certain, if you're not sure or whatever. But I can just say that I spun my wheels and I dug them deep, and I went to 110 practitioners.
I remember that.
0 signups. Because I walked in, I was that salesman. I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing. If he has some time, I can show it to him, demonstrate it to him. It was almost like, the vacuum kind of salesman, door to door or whatever. And it just doesn't work, because who am I? I'm Paul Austin. I'm not Dr. Austin. They're going to look at my card. They're going to look at, even when I went into demo them, after the demo, I almost felt like they thought that people wouldn't be coming in to get their back cracked again, because I think I was over the top with it or whatever. But it was just it's just not worth it to do that. You do have to, exactly what Darlene has mentioned, is the professionalism and the it's not going to happen overnight. You have to dribble on them. You can't just go crazy and send too much information or whatever the case may be, and getting in that door is tough. And I was shut down right at the door. Sometimes the thing was crumpled up and thrown in the garbage, which I thought was really ignorant, but no one will even entertain that type of stuff. So anyways, just tread lightly, go to somebody that's done it before. I changed my whole strategy. I ended up getting in the door through people that used our product, that went to clinics because they had issues, and that's kind of, a patient letting you come in. They told a doctor they wore a patch, and I'm the rep, and I come in, and that's a whole different scenario. It's going to make it much easier for you. So just take Darlene's advice, because it's so true. It's not just talking to somebody about pain and all that. It's a whole different ball game. So that's my 2 cents worth. And don't drive all over town and drop off samples and pamphlets and all that. It just that's a lot of work and no return. So
I agree, Paul. I think that practitioners, whatever their label, bring credibility to us, bring credibility to our team, but that is not the low-hanging fruit by any means. Our friends, our family, acquaintances are really the low-hanging fruit. And I think an entry point for a lot of practitioners is to leverage the people that are patients at clinics, to ask them, who's your doctor, who's your chiropractor, who's your massage therapist, and do you think that they would be interested in learning a little bit about this technology, since you've had such great success with it? I think that's a great, would you agree with that, Darlene?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Paul, for that. That's a really good insight. And it's very true. I have the one client that actually introduced me to it. She went from getting, I think she was getting every 3 weeks, she was getting pain injections down to every 4 months. And her pain specialist said, "What are you doing?" And so she told her about me. And she says, "I'll take the information." And that's where it ended. And I'm okay with that because at least she knows that it's there. And that is one person that I will be following up with in the future. But that came through a client. So Paul, you said it too. You said it right on. It's like have that personal connection too. And then again, that whole avenue, and this was one thing I failed to mention, and it's definitely worth saying, is that we resist what people will tell us. We do not resist what we conclude. So if you can plant seeds of doubt in them, either with what they have already decided or what you're offering them, if you can plant seeds of doubt, you will create that thought patterns like, what if it does work? What is this stuff? If you can create questions in them, they'll get to conclude their own response to that. So you don't have to convince them. And that can come, like Paul said, through somebody else that has already gone to that practitioner, or that can come through just that little dribbling of effect. Like Barb and I, and Barb had a comment in that, because her clients know her. So they trust her. They trusted her experience, not necessarily her information when it came to this. And Elsa also made a good comment. Practitioners can help create your volume, but as far as not having, they're not going to have your builders, but you can still strategically place them under some of your other associates. So that's a good comment too, Elsa.
Well, and I have another thing to add to this. So I just had something happen recently. My brother has a girl he does all these renovations for, and she has all these needles all through her back every single week. Triptan, whatever the stuff is for migraines, all sorts of things. Has to take those pills daily. So I go over there, I demo her, I give her the freedom patches. She buys, whatever she needs. That wasn't an issue for her. She just wanted relief. And now she said, give me 2 weeks. So I respected that. I didn't follow up. That's unnatural of me because I would want to follow up a little bit faster and see where it's going, make sure they're wearing them properly, all that. But she kind of was on the program. A one-on-one's easier to explain all that. So anyways, she ends up calling me like 7 days later. So I knew it was either, or something's good, or, because 2 weeks is a long time. We have good results faster. So she says, I don't know what's going on here, Paul. This is unbelievable. I've only taken one trip. I don't even know the name of it.
Tryptophan.
Yeah. And I didn't bother doing the freedom patch that day. And it was just a habit of mine to take that. But I've had to take one Triptan in the last 7 days. That's impossible. Is it these? I'm retired. Do I have time to do this? So why I'm saying all this is what's happening now is her chiro wants to know, her physio wants to know, the guy injecting all those things wants to know, her doctor. And then now the conversation is going to be, well, why wouldn't you do this? Because you could put all those people underneath you and you can just go at your own pace and all those different things. So now that customer has turned into a possible reference or referral of a practitioner, but also if there's any kind of underlying, they've mentioned maybe they would do this or make a little extra money, all those different things. And so many more people are open now for that, because just look at what's happening. 2 bags and it's, $95 out of the grocery store. I mean, this is, there's going to be more people looking to make a difference. This is so simple, but this is what can happen, right? And it's all, again, the relationship, and then, the community you show them that we have, and all those different things will spawn off to a lot of things. And if it turns into just a customer, or those practitioners get you and you just enroll them, great. We're all helping one another. Maybe they didn't want to do it. That's okay. But you have to throw that out there, because I know she's going to say, well, yeah, why would I give this guy all this? It's my, I wanted to do it. Why wouldn't I do it? So I think that's what's going to happen. But hey, if it happens, it happens. But those are the kinds of things that can happen with this. So just keep that.
Great point, Paul. Yeah, that's amazing where it could lead. And again, it's not being pushy, it's being professional and giving the necessary information when asked, as opposed to trying to jam it down their throat as well, which I think is key as well. So, but anyways, Darlene, always, always, always the utmost professionalism from Darlene Reimer Frost. I'm so delighted to have you tonight, Darlene, as a trainer. And
Great to be back.
what's that?
Great to be back.
Yeah, isn't it though? Good for you. And maybe I might come after Barb Anstead one of these nights too, to jump on in training and as well. But it's always a pleasure to have teammates that are professional, that are experienced, to come on and teach us all a little bit to help all of our businesses, to help all of our abilities to share and be professional in this super patch mission that we're on to improve the quality of life of people in the world. And so thank you for that, Darlene. The recording will be up very soon. Don't forget about our opportunity meeting tomorrow night with Steve Schultz at 8 p.m. And please jump on. Paul Austin does a call as well for the UK on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. I believe, Paul.
Yeah, 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's do our best. I know that I haven't been great jumping on. It just hasn't been a great time for me. But let's try and get on and support Paul on that call. And we're expanding in the UK. We're expanding, all over Europe. And get your tickets for Florida. Get to Florida November 3rd and 4th. Get there. You will not be disappointed. It's events are where things happen. It's where we can meet and greet and get to know each other, and bring prospects, bring people that want to go, and they won't be disappointed. So on behalf of the field, thank you, Darlene. Everybody on mute, and look forward to seeing everybody, God willing, next Monday, same time, same bat channel.